Good afternoon. Welcome. And thank you all for joining us once again as we explore real estate markets all over the world. Now, we know that for many of us, the lure of a getaway place, whether it's a country retreat or a coastal hideaway, has us longing to own a second home. And it's our mission here to educate you on the many real estate possibilities outside of your own city. Everyone dreams about this. They dream about living somewhere, working maybe somewhere else. Now that framework has changed for a lot of people, or even just retiring somewhere else. And we are here to show you that that dream can be realized. It's no longer just for the rich. It's not just a luxury anymore. About 9.25 million Americans own a second home. And that is a huge increase, actually, just in the past 21 months. It's a 23% increase in second home ownership. That is significant. So today, we are going to take a virtual break to a place where a beach is never more than a few minutes away. From the coastal wreckage where it all began to the rum, swizzles, and lobsters I've learned at Wahoo's, and where scooters are the primary form of transportation. There's a reason the quintessential beach short is named after our featured country today, Bermuda. So often this is referenced as only one island, but Bermuda actually has over 181 islands. And I'm sure each of them have their own charm and characters. If you're able to get to all of them, you might be able to find that out. Today, most of Bermuda's 65,000 residents proudly trace their roots to British, African, Portuguese, and Caribbean bloodlines. That's beautiful. And once you visit, it's not difficult to see why Bermuda is a desirable place to live. Sands, pink sands, migrating humpback pods, and an unmatched quality of life are just some of the reasons you might want to take a trip or perhaps stay a lot longer. And as Britain's oldest colony, Bermuda is packed full of culture, demonstrating a vibrant tapestry and very, very rich history, eye-catching architecture, and a culinary landscape that is as diverse as it is delicious, I'm sure. And maybe if we're lucky, one of our guests will share the recipe for Bermuda fish chowder or that awesome pawpaw casserole that I've heard about. Maybe, I don't know, I'm always ready for some yummy chowder. So if we're lucky, we might get to hear a little bit more about that. But without further delay, let's introduce our guests. David Boyce, Buddy Fleming, and our cute couple, Natasha and Macario Thomas, also known as Team Thomas. Welcome all of you to Explore. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to let you introduce yourselves, but right before that, I'm going to give just a brief overview and let the audience know that there's going to be Q&A with our guests. And then at the end, we're going to share, I think there's 7 properties. And everybody loves to get to the properties. So audience, be prepared to take some notes. And also at the end, we're going to give the contact information for all of our guests, for Buddy and David and Natasha and Macario, so that you can write that information down. Save it. You never know when you're going to go to Bermuda. You never know when you might become intoxicated and want to buy, or if you're a realtor joining us, when you have a client that may want to buy. These folks are your experts. And audience, if you're enjoying this, go ahead and put some friends' names and clients' names in the box and tag us so that they can come and enjoy this at their leisure. So today, in addition to the photos and properties that we're going to look at, we're also going to talk about the logistics because there's a lot to consider before making a purchase, from pricing to the possibility of financing, if that's an option, the cost to own, or to even monetize this purchase when you're not using it. It's just great to have an overall perspective of the area. And we've been doing this, we've been educating our viewers by featuring AW real estate agents and their property offerings of 850 U.S. offices nationally and our 51 global regions and growing. I'm understanding there's some new announcements coming out. So we're going to get to all that. We'll get to the Q&A and the properties all within the hour. So David, Buddy, Macario, and Natasha, thank you again for being here. We want to get to know you. So give us a little bit of information about yourself. I'm going to start with Team Thomas.
I'll start with my lovely wife, Natasha.
So I am a recent import to Bermuda. I was actually born in Australia and I moved 7 years ago. If you ask me why I moved to Bermuda, it's like a tropical island paradise. You know, I'm from Australia, so I'm all about the beach, the summer, the outdoors. And once I got here, it was definitely the culture and the history that kept me. And of course, my lovely husband.
We can't promise everyone that if they move to Bermuda, they'll get a husband, but that's what got you.
Bell Carrion Thomas, the lesser half of Thomas. Born Bermudian, but have spent some time raised in Canada, boarding school at TCS, law school, University of Buckingham. Did some acting up with people. That was really cool, just moving around and seeing the experiences of up close of the world, if you will. And after that, I went into event planning, hospitality, and tourism. Ultimately landing in real estate after that experience, after I learned how cool it is to help other people with their real estate journey and to give them something tangible at the end of their experience.
Well, David, what can you add to that about yourself?
So firstly, Jeanette, thank you very much for getting us on this call. So to give you a quick background of my past. So I was educated in the UK through high school and went to university in the US. And then I came back to Bermuda and started a designer eyewear store along with high-end jewelry. And I've recently got involved in real estate in Bermuda within the last year. And it's been a very busy start for me. So it's been great.
And David's being a little coy, but he's actually a very good golfer.
Well, thank you, Natasha. I wouldn't say that now. My golf's a little rusty, but I was a golf professional at one point.
And he's too busy selling the dream in Bermuda. Buddy, share a little bit about yourself.
Oh, hi, everybody. So I have, oh goodness, at 12 months old, I was born in Bermuda, I'm sorry. And at 12 months old, my parents actually moved down to New Zealand, where I spent the first 10 years of my life. And we moved back home shortly after that, and I've been back home ever since. I have worked in luxury hospitality for the majority of my career, and actually have worked in luxury real estate just under about the last 10 years. And I am currently the director of luxury for Keller Williams.
Oh, congratulations. We've got a nice sampling of folks here, experts here to be able to help guide our viewers today. So I'm going to start actually with David. I want to know a little bit about your buyers, like who expat-wise is moving to Bermuda. What are the reasons for that? What are they looking for?
Well, I mean, we've got a huge array of buyers, obviously locally and internationally. Obviously the attraction to Bermuda is that we have, fairly consistent weather throughout the year. I mean, we've got arguably the most beautiful beaches in the world. And Bermuda is considered a very stable economic country, which is, which is certainly very attractive, especially to international buyers. We also have a huge reinsurance industry here, which, certainly helps stabilize the country. And it's, it's been a place of choice for holidaymakers for a long, long time.
If I can piggyback on to David, there geopolitically also sort of makes us attractive. We're 90 minutes away from the East Coast, and have a pretty good diversity. Well, we sometimes pre-COVID have offerings to get us off the island of Boston and New York on a daily basis. We also have US dollar we use here.
Right.
That makes of use, and we all speak English. So that's what it helps.
For us Americans who only know one language, that is an attractor. Really, when you're talking about purchasing a second home, I think, Bakari, you hit the nail on the head in terms of the currency and the language. It's very, very helpful. What would you say, maybe Natasha, what would you say is kind of the general makeup of foreigners coming in? Is it mostly Americans or Canadians or Europeans?
Definitely a high percentage of Americans. So most of the imports, whether they are guest workers or whether they're people looking to buy a second home, definitely Americans. So.
And do you think that has changed since COVID? Have you seen any mix, anything that has changed significantly since COVID started? And I'll just ask you, Buddy, or do you think that things are busier, maybe, but the same kind of people, they're looking for the same kind of things? Any insight on that?
No, I think, your first comment as well, is there a mixture? There's absolutely a mixture. I agree completely with Natasha that, the majority of our purchases do tend to come from the northeastern United States for sure. But, we have a number of Canadians. It's funny, actually, I was doing a title search the other day and found quite a lot of European purchasers, excuse me, over the last 24 months. In particular, and quite high-end real estate that they were purchasing as well. But absolutely, I mean, the Northeast market or the Northeast United States, Boston, Philadelphia, New York City tends to be the majority of those that are looking for Bermuda. I think because we do have those great direct flights and it's very easy to get here.
And it's cold there.
Yes.
They're looking to thaw out for sure. As a former Northeasterner myself, it's very cold there. So David, what for foreigners to purchase property in Bermuda, are there a lot of roadblocks to that, or is it a pretty simple process?
Well, I mean, it is a fairly simple process. The first step of it is just simply applying for an application to purchase, which you do through the government. It's become a lot easier over the past few years, as we're obviously trying to attract international buyers. Bermuda's a very friendly place, and the government have done a very good job with accommodating the outside world and letting people get exposure to the island. So.
And Buddy, I think maybe it was you that had mentioned to me that citizenship is not even necessary. Really, there's no huge benefit for it, particularly for someone who just wants to buy real estate. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You certainly do not need to be, a Bermudian citizen or even hold a permanent residency certificate in order to purchase real estate in Bermuda. For those that are really looking for the long term, and by that I say, real estate is obviously a legacy and a long-term purchase, but who someone wants to maybe call Bermuda a little bit more of a home. There are certainly ways in which it can happen, and really, as opposed to citizenship, it is a permanent residency certificate that you're looking for. And there's a number of ways to actually achieve that. One of the most exciting things that has happened actually in the last, I'd say 18 months is we've introduced what's called an economic investment certificate, which is attached to, sort of the process of being a permanent resident in Bermuda. And it takes an infusion of capital, and in 5 years, you are guaranteed that certificate, which gives you all of the rights and privileges and benefits of really being Bermudian, other than you just can't vote.
An infusion of cash. It sounds expensive, but the point is that it's doable. There is an avenue for one to do that if they so chose. So Team Thomas, I want to talk just a little bit about that purchase process. So, are most people paying cash? Or if somebody doesn't want to liquidate cash, is there a vehicle to finance?
So our banks are very interested in talking to foreign purchasers. So the bank terms may give Americans a little bit of a scare because it is a minimum of 20% down payment. And our interest rates are around 5 to 6%. So what we see most buyers purchasing will actually take equity out of a property that they have in the States and use that cash to purchase in them. But the banks do love speaking to international buyers.
So either way, but generally cash is what you're typically seeing for these discretionary and a second home purchases, correct? Yeah.
We would have seen more cash buyers. Pre-COVID, Bermuda was in a buyer's market for a good 13 years. Since COVID, we have definitively moved into a seller's market, especially when looking at standalone properties, followed by certain sort of lifestyle condos and last commercial real estate, where standalones are really taking off.
Well, and thank you for that, because that is the perfect lead into my next question that I was going to shoot over to David is to talk a little bit about the appreciation. Valcario explained that it was a buyer's market for many, many years. And then COVID, of course, set a lot of markets kind of upside down. And so now that it's a seller's market, obviously the appreciation has maybe skyrocketed a little bit in the last 18 or so months. But I think from an investor standpoint, like from a buyer, possible buyer that might be watching this, I think they might be more interested in kind of the long play on that and not just a shift in the market, but over the years, if they are to purchase something, maybe have it as a legacy piece for family to use. Maybe they're buying it now to retire later, and they'll monetize it for some period of time before it's a more permanent residence. That's a longer term hold. So could you speak to a little bit, David, on over the course of maybe 10 years, has property is it pretty stable? Has there been some appreciation so that people feel safe in investing there?
Yeah, sure, Jeanette. So I guess the best way to summarize it is the fact that there have been families, I would say, especially from the United States, that have purchased property in Bermuda, let's go back to the last 50 years, and have, obviously used it as family summer homes. And, the properties have certainly appreciated massively, certainly over the last 10 years. Properties available to non-Bermudians typically have not depreciated at all. And of course have appreciated. To give you an exact figure would be very, very difficult, but I would say that, there'd be very, very few people that would say that their investments have suffered as a result of buying property here.
That's always a huge positive, because most people they may be pulling, and actually this has happened with quite a few clients, that they've pulled money out of other assets like the market, for example. I just got a call yesterday from somebody who's pulling cash out and they want to invest it in South America. That's kind of their passion. That's their happy place, as we like to say. So we've got a lot of people that are pulling money out and they want to put it into hard assets before inflation hits or interest rates change, and kind of hedge themselves. They don't want to have the experience that they had in 2008. And of course, we're not financial advisors, so we're not here to give that kind of advice. But I'm starting to see these like lead measures of the phone ringing with people saying, I've got some cash, or I'm pulling out some cash, and I do want a second home, sometimes in the US, sometimes in another country. And so I can see that is going to continue. And it's not just because of COVID that people are wanting another place to go instead of their living room. I see that will continue for quite a while. And I think it's fueled. I was just watching something on CNBC about how everybody's going to be working different. And it's kind of an old business model of working in an office. They don't think that will ever come back. And I'm sure there's exceptions to that. But as a general rule, people will be able to be more mobile. And I think the idea of someone being able to work, as long as you can manage the change in time zones, right? That you're able to work wherever you choose. And I think that's quite exciting. So the last question I'm going to ask before we get to the properties, and I think, Buddy, I'll ask this of you if that's okay, is just a little bit about the kind of the cost to hold, and really anybody can answer this. Just feel free to kind of insert yourself into the conversation. But I'm sure there's some costs with some type of taxes. Year over year, I'm assuming you're going to have the normal things like maintenance costs. So I'm not really talking about things you would find anywhere, but specific to Bermuda, is there anything that a prospective buyer should keep in mind that will be either a purchase cost or an annual cost?
And I think David touched on it earlier. In order actually to purchase, David had mentioned the application process into government. It is called the license to acquire the land. And it is pretty much, other than the purchase price of the property, probably the most highest expense in the process that you would pay. For instance, I'll give you a few numbers. Typically, it is on most single family homes about 12% of the purchase price. Depending, of course, on where the property is located. Some are designated as tourism residences, like some of the properties that I'll show you this afternoon. Those are actually 6.5%. So it is also, it is the process that I mentioned earlier that just, takes a little while. It used to take several months and now takes about 60 days, which is a massive improvement. And it is a bit of a government vetting process to the buyer as well. But it is probably the most, other highest expense other than the purchase price of the home that you'd pay. As far as, sort of land tax or property tax, throughout or annual cost, I mean, those are really based on the value of the home. And to be honest with you, they are not extravagant at all.
Oh, okay, that's good. So does the revenue come mainly from tourism, or, I mean, the island has to have some money to operate. If it doesn't come from property, is it a kind of across the board from different aspects if it doesn't come from property taxes?
It is definitely across the board. I mean, tourism is a massive, massive part of our economic support for sure. International business, setting up shop here in Bermuda. Several of the world's largest insurance and reinsurance firms are headquartered here in Bermuda. All of this contributes to the economy, which is I think, really how to answer that. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so let's get over to the properties. And let's see who is going first. Let's see what we have here. Here we go. Okay. So let's go to our first property. And that is David.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
is that ocean right behind this property?
yes, it is. Yeah, so it's actually right on the water. So just to quickly say, so Noosa Belmont Hills, Keller Williams Bermuda also have an office here, which I actually base myself out of, along with a couple of other agents. This is actually a fractional unit, so it's deeded ownership, meaning you actually physically own 8 weeks of the year. It's this particular unit is actually priced a little bit under what the asking price for some of the other units are, simply because the owners of this unit, their daughter used to live on the island, and because of COVID moved away, and and they don't want to spend 8 weeks here. They just want to spend 3 or 4 weeks here. And actually recently have come and stayed in the hotel, not in their own unit. So yeah, so I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous little space, and it's kind of a, you know, a little luxurious island hideaway, if you like.
And affordable. That's really interesting. Is there a lot of opportunities for fractional ownership in Bermuda?
There are a few properties. Buddy obviously is very familiar with Tucker's Point, which is located probably about 25 minutes from here in a car, which is an absolutely gorgeous property as well. And I'm sure Buddy will touch on that more as he introduces his.
Excellent. Okay, David, what is next? Let's see. There we go. Lovely.
So this is on obviously completely the opposite end of the spectrum. So yeah, so it's almost 10 acres of property. There's a lot of planning that has already been approved. It's the current owner is, considering various different options as to, development or whether to go and sell. It is absolutely amazing. I mean, in my opinion, it is the most beautiful part of the island. And, and I think a great option, I was speaking to somebody that's in property development the other day, the possibility of doing some condos, single development homes, as well as as well as a fantastic hotel as well, which Bermuda needs the hotels, and we do have some development that's in the process at the moment that has been stalled. So Bermuda desperately needs hotel rooms, and I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity to the right person.
That's interesting that you bring that up. I guess if you're low on hotel rooms, then that helps the owners who want to monetize their homes doing vacation rentals.
Oh, absolutely. Which we've certainly seen a big upkick, as far as international owners of properties renting out their houses as vacation homes. So, I mean, I guess that adds to what you were saying before, as far as, do you want to invest in Bermuda? Yeah, absolutely.
This is a big investment, but I'm sure it's a big payoff.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously on a totally different scale, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful place, and I can obviously provide a lot more information on the property,
Sure.
and if anybody wishes.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for you to send me some. I actually just took a note to call someone about this. So I personally would love to get more information. If you could email it to me. Who is up next, or what is up next? Is it still David? Yes, it is. David, carry on and tell us about Mount Pleasant.
Okay, so this is actually also a unit at Newstead. So Newstead as development started off as purely fractional ownership. However, in the last few years, Newstead, well, the owners of Newstead have started converting, some of the units into whole ownership, mainly due to the fact that of the popularity of them, and owners that have bought fractions, have decided that they would like to enter into a longer agreement. And as a result, the owners have agreed and are working with the government in order to transfer them from fractional to whole ownership.
So something like this, could you share with us, what would this rent out for if I were to purchase it and I wanted to monetize the investment?
Okay, so I mean, a bit like some of the other fractional properties, Newstead will rent your unit out when you're not using it. It goes into a rental pool, and Newstead will give you 40% of the the nightly rate, and invest it back into your unit.
And they take care of everything, like bringing in the people and the cleaning and all of that. That sometimes is overwhelming to someone, like they don't know how to manage all that. But in this instance, that would be part of the fee.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So I mean that it's an all-inclusive deal. It would essentially, work the same way as a hotel, and you just simply, let Newstead know in advance, when you're going to be here, when you're not, how much time you would like to rent out, and and they're fantastic at working with you.
Now, excuse me, you mentioned that maybe you mentioned it on this, that did you say something about you like this part of the island a lot, or was that another property?
No, I do like this part of the island. I actually live very, very close to here. I mean, it's beautiful because you've got obviously the open water, but you've got the view of Hamilton, and Hamilton is a beautiful little city from the ocean. It's not, we don't have high-rise buildings. It's it's very, very unique.
How close would this be for someone to kind of give me a little feel of the lay of the land? Could you walk to some place to eat or shop from here?
So actually, there's I don't know whether I can say 5-star because I'm not sure the rating of it, but one of the best restaurants on the island, which is actually on property. And then there is also a sister restaurant to that, which is minutes away, in a complimentary shuttle service.
Oh, is that pretty common there? Because is it accurate that if you're not a resident, you can't drive? I read that somewhere, and I don't know how real that is.
Well, so I mean, there are different ways around that. So you can obtain a Bermuda driver's license if you own property in Bermuda. If you're just visiting, say for instance, you were to buy a fractional unit, we have some small, I mean, Twizzies as we call them, small electric cars, which you can rent out and you can drive with a valid US driver's license, or actually a valid international driver's license.
Oh, okay.
One of the great things, I'm just going to add on to what David's been saying, one of the great things about Newstead is they actually have a dedicated ferry. So they have their own ferry service to and from all the restaurants that are in town.
Okay.
You took the words out of my mouth, Natasha.
That's why it takes a group. That's definitely why it takes a group. Okay, thank you so much, David, for all of that. Buddy, I'd love to hear about Rosewood Golf Villas.
Thank you, Jeanette.
So, David mentioned, pardon me, fractional ownership. This property, it sits in Tuckerstown. It was years ago called the Tucker's Point Club. And Tuckerstown to Bermuda is kind of like Bel Air to Beverly Hills. It's an absolutely exquisite area. It's a very established neighborhood. It's very affluent. So this 250 acres, which includes a golf course, 4 international restaurants, a hotel and spa, which is managed by Rosewood International. This is where these golf villas are situated. The Golf Villas Residence Club is actually the very first property in Bermuda actually to launch fractional vacation ownership, which it did so about 15 years ago. And then, of course, other properties came on, and as such, David's Newstead, which is just gorgeous. But we have listings at the moment in the 2- and 3-bedroom category here that you can see. I actually used to, in my former life, manage this property. So I hope you love the decor. The renovation is actually one of the last things that I did as an operational manager.
Nice.
So I hope you like it. The whole concept of fractional ownership is actually really unique. And frequently I hear the word timeshare. People refer it to a timeshare. And I understand that because, it's the sort of concept of sharing time, but a timeshare, they're just not. And timeshare, because timeshare is sort of structured, you have like week 12 in unit 30B, and that is, what you'll enjoy for the duration of your lease. In our fractional properties, the Newstead included, there is actually, you purchase into a bedroom category. So you're enjoying fair and equitable ownership with everybody else in that bedroom category. So there's actually no maximum that you can use your property, all for the cost of your quarterly HOA dues. Some people only come for 2 weeks a year. Some people come for 5. I think the longest running stay through the winter months at Gulf Villas was 17 weeks. So you see, you can really get some value for dollar out of a fractional product. It's a great way to own a property here that is just taken care of for you when you're not using it. It is completely turnkey. Your HOA dues or your maintenance fees, you could call them, really do cover absolutely everything from legal to insurance to sinking funds and renovation costs. So, when you pay your HOA dues, you are done. There's no creeping cost that will pop up, throughout the year. I think that's really powerful as well, so that people can pay their HOA dues and just know that they can sleep well at night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, this is a lot of square footage for this.
Yes, I think that fantastic. The 2 bedrooms are 1,865 square feet, and the verandas actually are 440 square feet on top of that. And the 3 bedrooms are 2123 with, again, the 440 square feet of veranda space. To be honest with you as well, in Bermuda, I mean, the outside space is as important as the inside, because you're bringing the outside in. As Natasha said earlier, how the island captivated her. Well, it captivates most people that come here. And so, you can see in that veranda photo that's just up now, that is, what people see when they wake up in the morning and enjoy their cup of coffee. And the prices actually for this particular property, we're at the secondary or the resale market. So a 2-bedroom is typically trading around $150,000 at the moment, and a 3-bedroom is around the $300,000 mark.
That's beautiful. I was going to ask if the veranda that I'm looking at is a common space, but you clarified this is actually part of your home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And why as well I show, these sort of standard photos for both the 2 and the 3 bedrooms is because you purchase into a bedroom category, and you can also, and it's fair and equitable usage. Every single villa is decorated identically. So what you see in this common area space in a 2-bedroom is exactly what you'd experience in a 3.
Beautiful.
May I ask, does your HOA fees include furniture and furniture replacement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the wisest things that they did about 10 years ago or so is basically we hired a company out of Chicago called Building Reserves Incorporated, and they come down and they assess the property from infrastructure to inventory. And they also sit with you and, sort of gauge from you, so, when would you like to renovate? When do you think that these things need to come up for replacement or just a redo? They put everything on a 45-year schedule, and then they dictate how much of the dues collectively on an annual basis need to be sunk into this fund or replacement reserve fund to make sure that when the schedule dictates that it's time for a renovation or time to replace the mattresses or the water pumps in the building, that the capital is just sitting there waiting. And that prevents as well, thanks for the question, Natasha, because it prevents capital assessments, which I think when you're buying into sort of a shared property, that's a very common reality and something that you really want to stay away from, because you want people to feel comfortable that once they pay their dues, they are done.
Right.
They will get surprised throughout the year with additional expense. So the replacement reserve fund really works to that effect.
Beautiful, wonderful. Thank you so much for that careful explanation. And Tutler's Point. So this was the property we were at earlier?
Property. This is the same property. This is great. As I say, 250 acres, right? And over the last, goodness, we've sold 11 estate lots, which is actually what you're looking at here. The bottom photo there is, this is called Glebe Hill Lot 1A to be technical, but it is the last remaining estate lot on this property, which is why I wanted to feature it today. You can see it is sort of nestled on a hill. It is the largest estate lot that actually Tucker's Point ever brought to market. It is 1.3 acres, which is phenomenal and quite odd as well for, you know, estate lots. They are typically a little bit smaller than that. So that's, of course, reflected in the price of $2,950,000. If I can explain as well, you know, something that is very typical in Bermuda, and I'd like to clarify that as a non-Bermudian purchaser, you are not normally or typically allowed to own vacant land. This piece of property is actually designated completely different. It is, and it is able to be purchased by a non-Bermudian. The property is governed by a special development order, but in order to, and so it's also classified as a tourism residence, which means that certain rules and regulations kind of disappear. And so this is absolutely able to be purchased by a non-Bermudian and to be built on as well. So, you know, for $295,000 for 1.3 acres, in fact, we did some conceptual drawings not too long ago just to see what could be possible with an architect. And you can actually fit 2 homes on this lot, which is really spectacular. But it is the last remaining estate lot in this community, which is a really unique and sort of rare opportunity at the moment.
And the golf, are the lots just kind of centered around the course?
They are, absolutely. They're sort of spread out over the entire 250 acres. And this is actually, this Glebe Hill area sort of overlooks, well, you can see it really. It overlooks the golf course into the Harrington Sound area, which is just a really peaceful neighborhood.
Nice. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Right? Okay, is Team Thomas next? Natasha, yep. Okay, here we go. Who's going to take it away?
So we are going to talk a little bit about standalone homes in Bermuda. So there are restrictions on foreign ownership for standalone homes to ensure that property remains affordable for Bermudans, because who wouldn't want to move it if they have the opportunity to? So these homes tend to be at a little bit higher price point. And what we're showing you here is a property in Paget. This is less than 5 minutes from the main working hub of Bermuda, which is Hamilton, and about 25 minutes to the airport. So this estate is 1.8 acres sitting on the top of a hill. It's incredibly private, incredibly secure, offering 4 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms. And most properties in Bermuda will also have a small apartment alongside. And that can be for a caretaker that looks after the property whilst you're not on the island, or it can be for family when they come to stay, or as an income option as well. So this property is absolutely stunning, overlooking the harbour. You see sailboats every single day. 5 minutes from now, and the asking price is 6.5.
And could something or would something of this stature be something that an owner would rent ever?
They may like to. I mean, the asking rent on this property was $15,000 per month. So if they wanted to rent it out, there's always that option. And in fact, Airbnb is very well received in Bermuda. We have a lot of properties on Airbnb, and they range from $200 per night up to $15,000 per night. So This would definitely be at the higher end of the short-term rental market.
15,000 a night.
Correct. That's where Bill Gates stays when he's on island.
Wow. And so something like this, and this is kind of going back to the previous property, if one wanted to buy land, if they're able to, and build a home like this, could that be done under 6.5 million, or is this an opportunity for someone that wants 6,000 square feet? Oh, our picture went away. Here, we'll get that back. Is it an opportunity for someone that wants a home of this stature, or I would think building is expensive on an island.
Absolutely, building is very expensive on an island. So we're looking at around $1 million per acre is generally what the land cost is. And then building costs start at around $400 per square foot. So if you're going for a free product, you may even go up to $650 per square foot.
In the timeline on that would be, I mean, I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing there, but we have a big labor shortage. So who is building these houses on this island?
So we have a lot of local builders that are very knowledgeable and very skilled, and they create fantastic products. Everyone's experiencing the same supply chain delays. So
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. I think we're getting our picture back, I hope, so we can get to our last Team Thomas property, but maybe you can start talking about it while we're trying to connect here.
So the last property that we're showing is another standalone home, and it embodies everything that we love about Bermuda, because you want to be on the water, in the water, looking at the water. It's just a fantastic lifestyle property. It's sitting on 0.81 of an acre, 0.89 of an acre, and it's got boatable waterfront, which is highly desirable. It's a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bathroom property, and it's just lovely. It was built in 1990, so it's not that old. It's a relatively modern Bermuda house. Remember that we've been here for over 400 years, so a lot of the homes are a bit older. So something built in 1990 is relatively modern. Again, it has an income apartment or an apartment for a caretaker if you're off island. And the views are just stunning. So all over the harbour, this is where the America's Cup took place in 2017. We had a front row seat. There's a railway trail, which is our national park and walking trail, located just to the rear of the property, incredibly private and secure.
So a property that's on the water like this, are they allowed to have a boat slip, or are all boats kept at a marina?
No, you may keep your boat at your house.
Oh, okay.
So you can build a dock. There's something called a foreshore license, but you can build a dock and a mooring for your boat, and you can have a walk-on mooring at this point.
Nice, nice. Well, and at 3.35 affordable. compared to the last house that we saw. But you know what I loved about the selections that you provided us today is there was kind of a condo living, there was fractional living, there was single family living, there was estates, land. So it really did speak in a wide price range of properties. So it really does speak to opportunities for everybody who's interested in the island. So thank you so much for that. I think that was our last property. So we're going to switch this off, and in just a second, oh, here we are. Here we go. I wanted to make sure that the audience has a few minutes to take down all of your information, take a screenshot or write it down, whatever works for you, and keep this information. The minute that you think that you don't have a client or you don't have an interest is the minute somebody will call you. It's happened to me so many times. So we want to make sure that you have access to David and Buddy and to Team Thomas, Belcario and Natasha. So you've got email addresses there and their website. And then that way you can reach out and have an exchange. And of course, get much more information than time allows us here because unfortunately our time is about over. So thank you. It was very informative, very helpful. I appreciate you, David, Buddy, and Team Thomas, for your insight, for your time today. Let's go ahead and flip back over to everyone so we can say our proper goodbyes. Make sure that you all, again, as you get this recording, that you can share it with anybody that you think might be interested. Anyone that you know that already knows and loves Bermuda might be intrigued to find out that it can be a place for you to create that legacy home, create those memories, or just move there now full time. And you've got 4 friends right here who'd love to welcome you with a swizzle over at Wahoo's, right? That's going to be my first stop. I'm very intrigued by the swizzle thing. So again, tag your friends and your clients so that they can join us, and also so that they can learn about our future episodes. We'll be back again next month. We haven't picked our country. I'm always fascinated to get some. Usually I get some text messages saying, why don't you choose? And everybody has their favorites. So it'll be a surprise where we're going next. But if you are friends of ours on Facebook at Spinelli Residential Group, you will see the announcement and you'll be able to tune in, or go to our YouTube channel and you can see all of our past episodes internationally and throughout the US. So again, thank you so much, David, Buddy, Team Thomas, for what you've shared today. We value you and we appreciate you so very much. So until next time, take care. For the beautiful city of Austin, Texas, this is Jeanette Spinelli with the Spinelli Residential Group, your Austin, Texas real estate consultant. Go make it a powerful day. Stay healthy, and above all else, be kind. Thank you so much.